show 7:30, and I did have notice from Miss Paul that she wasn't sure because of her work schedule whether she'd be able to join us or not. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to welcome everyone. My name is Melissa Johnson. I'm going to work as the moderator tonight. And on behalf of Newbert PTO, I'd like to welcome you to our Meet the Board of Education candidate event and thank all the candidates for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. As we've said before, we are recording this evening and the video will be available later on YouTube for viewing for those who couldn't be here. The objective of our PTO is to provide the students of Newbert the opportunity to achieve their fullest potential in a stimulating environment through the cooperative interaction of parents, teachers, and staff. Over the last year, many in our community have become more aware of the role of the Board of Education, how the board's decisions influence our students. With the April 6th Board of Education election approaching, our PTO board felt providing an opportunity for the community to get to know the candidates better would help people vote in the way they felt would help their students reach their fullest potential. Newbert PTO is a nonpartisan organization. We did not endorse any of the candidates. All 7 candidates have been invited to attend. The candidates are from Dundee, Christine Burkett, Emmanuel Thomas, Christina Paul, and Daniel Dale. From Hampshire, David Scorpino, and from Algonquin, Hollis Jarovsky and Kim Withicombe. And I'm sorry, I tried, so if I butchered those, I apologize. The D300 board, if you're not aware, may have a maximum of 3 members per town. That means a maximum of only 2 additional members may be from Dundee because one of the returning board members is already from Dundee Township. We are happy to have almost all of the candidates here and hope that the other one will be able to make it for a portion of the evening. Our format tonight will include a 2-minute opportunity for each candidate to introduce him or herself. We will then ask 4 questions based on the feedback we got from our community. The candidates have been provided with the questions in advance, and excuse me, each candidate will have 2 members to answer. 2 minutes to answer per question. Our timekeeper will provide updates so our candidates will be aware of how much time they have left. And the order of the candidates for the introductions and questions has been randomly assigned. We ask that the audience stays on mute during the event and that the candidates only speak during their allotted time. So we are going to start with introductions. Mr. Dale, I have you first. So if you would go ahead, you have 2 minutes to provide your introduction, please.
Thank you. My name is Dan Dale. I am a resident of West Dundee for about 13, almost going on 14 years. I recently had my car stolen out of my driveway overnight, so I am now pleasantly surprised and been added to the list of victims of, and the car has, as I've shared with Steve, the car has been returned. It's a Dundee body or collision, and it's getting, State Farm has been wonderful about it. Our local police department sergeants, 2 sergeants, Wick and Breon, I think it is, have been wonderful. But anyways, the key here is that I think, number one, I'm running because there was an opening, temporary opening on the board, and I said, what the heck, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And I have been involved in education technology as a vendor, as a manufacturer, publisher, but as a vendor for over 20 years into K-12 primarily, but also into high ed. I have experience with companies and end user customers, schools and districts. And so as I see what these districts have been doing over the country, across the country for years now, I think that would add or contribute to the school board and the decision-making process. And also, I am one of those that believes that it's easier to be positive and to have a little bit of kindness in your heart and to look for the greater good and look for the best positive outcome possible. And so my mission here is to carry that forward as if I'm elected as a board member and to be a true team player and to do what is best for the kids and the staff of D300, and of course, always keeping in mind to serve the constituency, no matter how diverse their opinions may be. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Withicombe, would you introduce yourself, please?
I sure will. Hi, I'm Kim Withicombe, and I appreciate having this opportunity tonight. I'm from Algonquin. I've been a resident here for almost 18 years, and my daughter started first grade in Lincoln Prairie. I've been involved in her school years in all different capacities. I did fundraising for the PTO during elementary school. I was even PTO president. During middle school, I helped do fundraising at Westfield. I'm not able to be as involved with high school because my daughter doesn't do high school sports. She's a competitive gymnast, but I'd really like to get more involved with the district and with this community. I have a lot of respect for our community and the community members, and I want to be part of the board because I think that I can make a difference. I think that I can be a fresh voice and fresh perspective. I love being part of a team and being a team player. So I hope that people will vote for me on April 6th.
Thank you. Dr. Scorpino, if you would introduce yourself, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. David Scorpino. I'm a Hampshire resident, and like everyone else who's running for the board, I'm a proud parent. We have 2 grown children, and I have 3 super grandchildren who are elementary age children, and education is extremely important to me. I've been in education for over 40 years as a teacher, assistant principal, associate superintendent, and an administrative mentor in our district. I want to continue to work with our superintendent and fellow board members because I believe in excellence in education. I have community service. I'm on the Hampshire Fire Protection Board, the Hampshire Police Pension Board, and I'm a participant in the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 trial study through the Veterans Hospital in Chicago. What I do and my passion shows that I visit every school every year and I post the pictures on Facebook. And the reason I do that is I need to see about the decisions that we as a board make, how they are impacted in our school district. And I also like to talk to the students, the employees, and any visitors. That's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jarovsky, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Hollis Jarovsky. I am a physical therapist. I am an educator as well. I have been in education for about 10 years at the college level. I teach physical therapy assistant students currently at Harper College. Right now, I have had the opportunity to also work in D300 schools as a physical therapist and provide services to our elementary age, well, actually elementary through high school aged special education students. So that's been a wonderful opportunity. As a healthcare provider, as an educator, then I feel like I have a unique perspective that I can assist the board with, providing a unique multifaceted opportunity to have different stakeholders and know our stakeholders in the community. I'm also a parent. I have 2 daughters, one that is a freshman in high school at Jacobs High School and one that is a 5th grader at Lincoln Prairie. So I do understand the issues that have arisen from parents over the course of this school year in dealing with COVID. I do firmly believe in talking to everyone that has a position and everyone that is a stakeholder in the educational process. There are multiple opinions, there's multiple perspectives that we need to take into account, and it's very important that we listen, that we act with logic and rationale, and really work very hard to be inclusive in all areas of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, will you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. First, I want to say thank you to the parent teacher organization for putting this together for all of the candidates. My name is Emmanuel Thomas. I've been living in Algonquin for about 7 years. I have an 8th grader. My son is 8th grade. He's a straight A student. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved with the board to make a difference. I'd raise my children to, if you want to make a difference, you start from the top, which is me. I have 3 degrees. So once again, I received my degrees after I was well grown in my 40s, but I have a master's degree in education. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership management. I also have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I'm a 31-year veteran of the Postal Service as well as the military, a disabled vet. I got involved because I want to make a difference. I was selected on the board about 3 or 4 months ago because I believe I am making a difference. Everybody have their reasons to why they doing what they do. But as I stated, this community needs a change. I'm a change agent. I've done it all my adult life. So that's what I'm here for. I want to make a difference with the community, with the teachers, want to be a voice for the teachers, community, and the students. We have to have a voice out here, and transparency is very important, especially during this time of COVID-19. So I'm looking forward to everybody's vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Burkett, if you would introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Newbert PTO, for hosting tonight. I'm Christine Burkett, and I am seeking a position on the D300 Board of Education because of my sincere support for public education and my commitment to our community. I was raised in Algonquin, where I attended Newbert Elementary School. I was actually the first kindergarten class to attend Newbert Elementary School. Then I went on to Dundee Middle School, and I graduated from Dundee Crown High School. And I truly appreciate the quality of education that was afforded to me by District 300. Now I'm the proud parent of a 4th grade student at Sleepy Hollow Elementary School, and I'm getting to witness firsthand how the district has changed over the years since I was a student to provide even more opportunities and programs to our students, with the goal of making sure that students that graduate are either college or career ready, which I think is important to have options. A single issue isn't driving my candidacy, but rather I have an interest in setting a wide range of goals and implementing strategies and initiatives and policies that can really ensure the success of all students in our district. Serving as a member of the board would be an exciting opportunity for me to engage further with our community. I would seek to understand the values of our community, the wishes, the challenges, all of which I think make understanding those make it important to being able to make real change and improvements in our students' learning experience. If elected, I would be an advocate for the educational needs of our community during the development of the next strategic plan that's due to come up soon. And I would strive to do my part to hold the district to that plan as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our first question tonight is, what do you believe are the most important traits of a board of education member to have, and how do those traits show through in your life? And we're going to go back to Ms. Burkett, please, for the first.
Okay. I believe that really there's a lot of important traits, but I'll just pick a couple to highlight. I think really dedication and passion are a key to a successful board member. You need to develop a deep commitment to the community and to have a deep commitment to community, public education, and also the mission of the district. I'm willing to put in the time to continuously learn more about the district, the current issues that are up in education, the legislation, and just education in general. I've spent the last 20 years working in educational publishing, where I've worked really hard to make sure that the educational experience for students is as engaging as possible. We always strive to have the goal of igniting a lifelong passion for learning, and I work in that realm every day. I'm not an educator, but working in that area has given me some insight as well. That's, I think, valuable background that I could transfer over to working as a member of the Board of Education. Additionally, every day There are skills that I use in my role as a creative director. I pride myself on being a creative thinker, a problem solver, and someone who's really good at collaboration with a lot of different people in my day-to-day job. And I think those are all traits that would make me an effective board member. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Scorpino, same question. What do you think are the most important traits for a Board of Education member, and how do those show in your life?
Definitely dedication, passion. Also, I believe a board member, if possible, should be visible in the schools, because that's the only way you're actually going to see and hear what is taking place. How do these show through in my life? I actually walk the talk. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. I visit every school every year. I talk to dozens and dozens of employees, students, and community members. So I'm hearing the information from all segments and all aspects of our school district. As a mentor, I always tell my mentees, you need to understand one very important thing. And I did this as a principal, I did it as an associate superintendent and superintendent. I would always tell parents, these are your children, but they're my kids, and I will protect my kids. And so the top priorities for me is to always ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the students. And through the decisions that we make as a unit, that's what occurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Withicombe, same thing. What do you think are the most important traits, and how do they show in your life?
So everyone's kind of said dedication and passion, and those are truly great qualities to have as being a member of the Board of Education. But there's a couple of other ones too. It's very important to be a good listener. We also mentioned problem solving, but that's key. Being able to gather information and truly understand the facts and the concerns of our community, as well as being a team player. I am a project manager. I have been for the past 25 years, and I exhibit these traits every day. I lead large-scale projects that impact thousands of people on a daily basis. And I think that I would be well suited for a seat on the Board of Education because of the fact that I'm such a team player and a problem solver, and able to really listen to other people and understand what concerns are and how we can work through those to make our district better.
Thank you. Mr. Dale, same question, please. Most important and how it shows in your.
Yeah, I would say that that definitely being a team player, but also realizing that as strong-willed and someone who likes to show off that they know something, I'm going to gladly admit that I'm a neophyte in this arena. I don't know it all. I think what's important is respecting the other board members, respecting the constituency and all the stakeholders, and the fact that the greater good, I think I said that earlier, I think the greater good here is what is the outcome for these kids, and how can we do that with the staff, and making sure the staff are well prepared to execute on those directives. So the overarching thing I would say is that once again, we can all be team players, but it's about respecting everybody on the board, respecting constituencies, and making sure, and making sure they have weaknesses, but as long as it's going to be a positive outcome.
Thank you. Ms. Jarovsky, same question.
So board does primarily policy, right? So I think that the three overarching themes that you need to be a good policymaker are listening ears with an open mind, understanding of the stakeholders' needs, and the willingness to be flexible and creative to reach goals. And an example of when I've used this philosophy in my own life is I did work in Alaska in the school districts, and I was treating students there in an area that I wasn't familiar with. And I had a family that they were very nice and they were very polite, but they were not implementing any of the strategies or any of the treatment plans that I had put forward. And I was speaking with the teacher and I said, what can I do to reach this family? And they said, well, they're Native, and the Native Alaskan population is very wary of outsiders. So here's my recommendation. Go speak with one of the tribal elders, excuse me, that works in the schools. Explain to them what you recommend, and then see if they will go talk to the family. And I did that. The tribal elder was extremely helpful. They went and spoke with the family. The family implemented all of my recommendations, and we started to see a wonderful outcome for this student. So I listened to the teacher with that open mind and said, what can I do differently? I understood what the people needed from me. I understood how I could serve them by using different techniques. And I was willing to be flexible with the way I portrayed that information to the family. And we reached a really good outcome, ended up with a great working relationship. And I was really happy to see the child achieve their goals. And I hope to bring that philosophy to the board. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Thomas, your turn,
Yes,
please.
thank you. Integrity, transparency, educated or real life skills, team player. You have to be an effective leader is a great follower, because you always have to follow to lead. In my organization, I've been in the post office 31 years. I've been in 5 different states. I wouldn't achieve this level of success without once following. And my job and where I work at now, I deal with the public every day, missed deliveries, no deliveries, wet mail, no mail. So you have to be transparent with your customers. You have to be honest. You have to listen to your employees. So my employees would be the teachers, the students, and not employees far as working for me, but us working together. So, real life skills I talked about, the traits of the board member is very important to have those skills with the problem solving. You have to problem solve. Since I've been on the board, 7 members, your voice is not alone. So, it's not as easy as some people may think it is, because they never had an opportunity to serve on the board. It's listening to other people's concerns, good and bad, and making a decision. And the decision you make is always not going to be the best decision for some, but it's the decision you make for all. So those are the traits I know that a board member needs, and I have those skills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our second question of the evening. Through the last year, many parents, students, and staff have voiced feeling unheard or attacked when their opinions were different from another person's. As a board member, how would you use your position to encourage productive communication? Ms. Withycombe, if you would start this one, please.
Sure, thank you. So as a project manager, I'm going to keep kind of referring back to that. I have large teams, small teams. We work with many other teams throughout my company. We want to give people an opportunity to speak. So I want people to feel that they are empowered to speak, to talk about their concerns. If there's a large group that we all need to be respectful within, I like setting up kind of a guidelines, a code of conduct, if you will. Maybe that sounds a little too harsh, but an opportunity where people know that they can speak their mind without criticism, that everything is open to discussion, and that we need to determine what the key concerns are so that we can work through them. So I think that's similar to what we need with the board, and allowing not only the other board members, but all of our community folks, the parents, the students, being able to speak without retribution and in being respected while they're up speaking their mind and their concerns.
Thank you. Ms. Jarovsky, if you would take the question too, how would you help promote productive communication?
So one of the best leaders that I ever worked with was at a hospital, at Delnor Hospital in Geneva. And he was the president, and he would literally come through every month to 2 months. And the question he would always ask was, do you have the materials that you need to do your job? And I think that that applies to the board as well. We're asking parents via surveys, do you have what your child needs to be successful in school? We're asking the teachers, do you have the materials that you need, the support that you need to be successful? And whenever we listen with eye contact, whenever parents get up at the board meeting to speak, whenever we aren't playing on our phones or avoiding their eye contact, they feel heard. Often restating what they are saying makes them feel heard. I know that a lot of parents were frustrated that surveys that went out were not responded to by the board. We need to explain why, if there is a reason that we've changed a policy after a survey has gone out, the transparency of why the board is making the decisions that they are making. There are lots of perspectives in our community. There are lots of cultures. There's lots of different ideas, and we need to acknowledge that each of those ideas has merit, and each of those people groups have real value, and that we as board members have to look at how our policies impact all of the students of our community and not simply ourselves. It's not about us. It's about what our students need. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burkett, your turn. How will you create positive communication?
Oh, sure. Well, I think one thing that we're going to need to do coming out of this past year is to really work to rebuild our sense of community, as well as reestablish trust as we move forward and look ahead. It's been an incredibly difficult year for everybody in the community, and it's sad to see how fractured we can be in some ways. So I think some healing needs to happen there, and I think that can be done through obviously productive communication. For one, I'd like to have real conversations with people. We tend to turn to social media, and I don't think those are necessarily the most productive place to have a real conversation. So, like Dr. Scorpino, I would be looking for ways to reach out to people in person if I was elected. As a board member, I would aim to set an example by being respectful when I'm communicating with stakeholders. I believe that productive communication really starts with assuming that anyone that's coming to you is coming to you with a positive intent. I would do my best to listen without judgment or being dismissive. I would engage in conversations, and I would ask questions to try and really get to the root of the person that I'm speaking to's concern or issue. And then I would try and work towards building a common understanding. I'm a person who always seeks out multiple viewpoints, because I realize that there are inherent limitations in the scope of my own personal perspective. So I'm always trying to find like a counterpoint to an argument. I've already started this work by reaching out to and having productive communications with parents, students, teachers, and administrators within the district already. And if elected, I would continue to work to build those relationships with the community and have open conversations. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, your turn. How would you promote productive communication?
First thing is body language. Body language is key, because when the person you're talking or communicating with someone, the way you move your hand gestures, the way you move your eyes, the way you move your head can be misunderstood. So that's very important. You say people feel disrespected. We're all adults. We have children or young adults that we are raising, and we want to raise them up the right way. So disrespect should never happen. Difference of opinions is always going to happen. But you have to be, as I say, the great listener. You have to agree to disagree. So, take it what's at stake, which is what's in the best interest of the teachers, the students, and the community, and implement processes that would make things better for us all. This is where we live. This is what we eat. This is what we see each other's children. So it's very important to be, as I said, transparent and to value everyone's ideas, philosophies, and input. If you do that, as we've done on the board, since I've been there, I only can speak since I've been there, that we do listen, you know, and superintendent and some of my colleagues do a great job of responding to some of the emails. You got to be very careful how you respond, because in a lot of ways, your words, one word could be misunderstood. And it happened to me just recently, you know, so, you know, you got to speak carefully and make sure that you're not offending even when you're not trying to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dale, your turn.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look at this as a 4-year plan, because so much of what we've been talking about has been bucketed into the COVID world, and so I'm going to keep it really simple. It's going to be just a 2-pronged approach: town halls and something like you would see. And I don't want to be you know, cheesy in this. I guess that's the word still used. But if you look back in time, for example, when the government was looking to fund the war efforts, they went on tours with celebrities and other people, athletes, and they were selling war bonds. It took a very unique approach, and it took them pitching ideas and getting people to support them. I really do believe that not a lot of the folks in constituency and stakeholders in our district are going to go to board meetings or even attend them virtually. I just don't think I don't think that's realistic. So my viewpoint would be is to go to schools, go to high schools, whether it be high schools or middle schools. And once again, I'm a neophyte. I don't know the restrictions and limitations of board members, but I would assume that if board members were a safe approach were to go to school and conversations as we look to the end of this year and next year and beyond, I think that would be a very good approach to press the flesh, engage with the community, and really get some good positive energy and feedback.
Thank you. Dr. Scorpino, if you would finish.
When I came to the district in 2004, the first thing that I did is I published my personal cell phone number and my personal email address. And to this very day, I get text messages, voicemail messages, email messages. And I know Mr. Thomas understands this. We have gotten, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to say probably over 100 emails and communications from parents since the beginning of the COVID crisis. I just encourage people to communicate with me, and they do. And again, I'm going to say it again, the in-person conversations that I have with people, it's really something. When you are an active listener and you are in that person's school because their child is there, or you are talking to a teacher there, they really open up to you and they tell you things. And I'm just going to continue that. So my cell phone number will still be published. My email will still be published, and people can talk to me anytime they want. Thank you.
Thank you. For our third question, and I know this has been voiced in other formats, I understand that you're part of a team and you don't get to make a decision. It's the whole board making a decision, but in your opinion, as we move forward from this year of COVID, where would you recommend increasing resources, and where might you make cuts of resources? And Dr. Scorpino, if you would start this one, please.
Sure, and I appreciate you saying that. Mr. Hyde has what he calls Datacom and BudgetCom meetings. Datacom, the principals are in attendance and they talk about their grade levels, how the students are doing academically. BudgetCom, the principals meet with district representatives and they go over what their needs are at that specific school, whether they are personnel that they need or if they need something done to the building. These meetings are taking place now. And then what Mr. Hyde does is he brings those items to the Board of Education. And they are ranked in a priority through our 5-year plan. And then the board looks at them. So we are in the process of that. I do not see, I really don't see how we are going to reduce anything. I would want to maintain what we currently have and then listen to the superintendent because he is telling us as a board what the principals are saying that they need. So we have to wait until Datacom and BudgetCom are finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burkett, same question. Are there areas where you could see increased need of resources or areas where you might see cuts?
Yes, I think, obviously, as we continue to move out of COVID, there are going to be COVID mitigations that we're going to need to continue. Hopefully we'll be back in school full-time in-person learning in the fall. But I think, we're worried, everybody's worried about potential pandemic-related achievement gaps and also, social emotional support services for our students. So I think we're going to have to, probably continue with what we've done there or maybe even increase as needed some resources there. I'd also like to see, D300 offers a lot of groundbreaking programs for our students that give them opportunities for all kinds of things like foundational skills to learn a new language, explore interests, and get a head start on college preparedness and to save money and learning trades or college. So I'd like to see us, expand those programs where we can. Like we have preschool for all, dual language. There's just a bunch of different programs that are great. People love accelerated college program. So I'm hoping that we can continue to expand upon those wherever possible. And I'd like to see as a district that we continue to look for those kind of cool partnerships like we have with ECC and leverage other opportunities out there with our larger community to develop additional programs such as those. I would also kind of defer to Dr. Scorpino on the budget part of what we would cut. But I do know that our district is fiscally sound and that we had the funds available for the emergency situation that we found ourselves in. So I think at this time it would be premature to even assume that cuts are needed. And I, like Dr. Scorpino, would listen to the recommendations of the administration on that as to what we might need to cut, if anything. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, if you would take your turn, please.
Honestly, I don't think we should cut anything at this time. Coming out of COVID, dealing with a lot of, student needs. You have some students that need tutoring. So I would say increase that. You're gonna have some students that have that's depressed. So we have to provide them the support for that. And you also have the food services. I mean, the school district did a wonderful job of expanding the food services. It used to be just for maybe low income or reduced lunches, but over the summer they offered it to everyone. So it'd be premature at this point to cut anything. As Dr. Scorpino stated, that we do have a budget meeting, and we do take the lead from the superintendent. He does a phenomenal job of keeping us aware. I mean, if you're on the meetings online, we have them. If you're not there, we have one tomorrow night. You can see the presentation yourself and make your own decision on what you would do. But to recap, to cut anything at this point, I would say it'd be premature because you really don't know what to cut coming out of COVID. But definitely expand the 3 items I talked about: the tutoring, the therapy for the students, and then the food programs if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Whitcomb, your turn, please.
Okay. Just coming out of the pandemic era, I feel like we need to still consider that there could be students, families who want to continue with remote learning options. So with that, I think that we need to look at maybe increasing our technical infrastructure, ensuring that all students throughout our district, so all schools, all students, have an opportunity to have access to Wi-Fi. There's many different ways that we as a district can provide that, even our own private network, to be able to help some of those students who can't afford Wi-Fi in their homes. We could provide that for them. I also would like to increase support and education for our teachers. I think they've gone through a lot this past year, and the way that they have been teaching our students, they've done a great job, the best that they can. But if they have to continue to do remote learning and then also in-person learning in the fall, we need to provide them with the right tools and resources, and whether that's training, education, or new ways to develop curriculum to make it easier for them, but also to keep the students, whether they're online or in person, fully engaged. And that's key. The other thing is really being able to understand where the students are coming from. I know it's really hard to do over a screen. It's really hard to do over Zoom, but we do need to look at the mental health of our students as well. And you know what? Maybe even our teachers, because I'm sure they've gone through some pretty challenging times this past year too, navigating the whole teaching and taking care of their own families and their own kids. I can't even imagine. I'm very grateful that my daughter's in high school. But the one last thing I would like to say about what we could increase, I think STEM is actually really important. And I know that we as a district think that way too, but I would love to be able to expand on that program, starting with kindergarten and just increasing the value of that program with every educational year. I think that provides students with great learning opportunities. And then as they get older and get into high school, really understand maybe some of those pathway programs that we offer for them to decide what's going to work for them, whether it's current just to try something out, or or for their future. Okay, I'm done now.
Mr. Dale, if you're somewhat stable, you're up. We're talking about areas you might want to increase resources or possibly have some cuts. And you're muted still. You're on mute.
Can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's all right. No,
There you go.
I'm sorry. I had to jump onto my phone because I lost connection on my computer. So here, real quick here, I would say a couple things. I think that there is, and I apologize if I'm repetitive here, I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder, but basically I would say is that there's going to be a big ding to AYP with COVID. I think there's going to be mental health issues for students in particular. My son's a freshman, and it's really not some days it's not a good place to be in this household. God love my wife for everything she's doing as a working mom to help get him through the days. So I think that there's going to need to be some resources allocated towards those two things, supporting students who have fallen behind. And I'd also say that there will probably need to be, I would say probably, I wouldn't say cut. I wouldn't say cut anything, but I would definitely say support teachers over the summer months. And I know that our budgets are strong but tight, but I would say some additional training for teachers who are going to have to support both brick and mortar and e-learning and remote learning, as some parents may not want their kids to go back to school in the fall semester. Sorry, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Jarovsky, your turn, please.
So I think that whenever you start to make a plan for a budget or any process, you have to ask the experts. And in this case, the experts are the principals of the buildings, the teachers, and asking what the needs are in their building, in their community, because the needs might change by the community. And so we have to take all of that information as board members, process that, and then come up with the best plan as to where to allocate funds. Education is less about cutting and more about shifting. The pot remains the same generally, and then we just shift depending on the needs of the area and the needs of the time. Places that I think would be interesting to continue to explore, or we might need more resources, is in the areas of online learning. I don't think that that's going away anytime in the near future. I do hope that in the fall we are all in person, or everyone that wants to be in person has that opportunity. But there are people that may want to remain online, and teaching online is a very different animal than teaching in person. And so assisting our teachers that are going to be teaching online, whether it be with instructional designers and technology, general knowledge on how to teach online effectively could be helpful. I would love to see additional partnerships with community colleges. I know, like the one I work at, there are many semester-long certificate type programs that students could potentially achieve a certificate that would get them a better job leaving college, or leaving to go to potentially college or into the workforce, and give them opportunities for good paying jobs right out of high school. I think that we need to look at maybe shifting some teachers to simply online specialists and providing them additional resources and training to serve the needs of all of our students. So thank you.
Thank you. Bear with me for our last question. It was submitted by one of our parents and is a little bit involved. HB 2170 was signed into law this year. It makes several key changes to the curriculum requirements for Illinois schools. The bill has provisions which seek to address the teacher shortage, increase educator diversity, mandate diversity of materials to increase representation of minorities in American history courses, and to address the impact of school closures on students, among other things. This is a hefty undertaking. What are your thoughts on the bill overall, and how would you hope to contribute to meeting its requirements if you're elected to the D300 Board of Education? And as she says, among other things, I read through the bill for about an hour, and there are a lot of things in it. Mr. Thomas, if you would like to try to take this one.
Okay, I outlined a few things. I'm just going to recite some of them. This HB 2170 is a task for Child's Task Force to establish an equality, as you talked about, inclusive, safe, and supportive environment for all schools for every student. We should be doing that anyway. So I don't see nothing wrong with that part, HB 2170. It makes amendments, medical assistance articles of the Illinois Public Aid Code to make changes concerning the diagnostics code for behavioral health services for students age 5 and under. We should be doing that anyway. We should be definitely making sure that each one of our students have the things that they need to be successful mentally as well as physically. Then it talks about getting students ready for real life after high school. Should be starting that in kindergarten. It used to be back in the Bush days, it was leave no child behind. Now it's every student successful. So I believe what the board is trying to do, the Board of Education, is making sure that we treat every student the same. They shouldn't really, and I read a lot of it, but from the things that I outlined, I don't see any problems with it. We should be making sure that we leave no student behind, because, you know, these students that we leave behind because we don't provide them the proper education may be your neighbors one day, because we all getting older. They may be your doctors, your attorneys, your prosecutors. So we should make sure that they have the real life skills that's needed, as well as the tools that's needed for getting them college ready from kindergarten, critical thinking skills, and making sure they're successful. So I think it's not a bad thing to me, honestly. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Dale, your turn.
Yeah, I think number one, I think the bill was written with some very positive energy behind it. I honestly, I'm going to be straightforward here. I don't know how much of this is applicable to D300. I know we're the sixth largest district in the state, but I have to say a couple of things. Number one is that when I started to look through some of these things, I looked through some of the, like, for example, the fact that 29% of Illinois students are not ready for kindergarten, and I look at some of the percentages as far as is Black students and Latinx students versus white when it comes to higher ed and developmental courses and the impact of that, and how if they were better prepared in the high school, they wouldn't have to spend monies on developmental courses at junior college and college. So a couple of things here. I do agree with it. I'm still to this day don't understand the actual funding piece of it, because I'm going to assume that we're going to have to come up with a lot of these funds locally because of our income levels in our district. I would say a couple things here is that wherever possible, look to grants and foundations to help fund the gaps where they may exist. I am for it, though. I'm for most of the things in there. I think it's very fair to say that all students should have to be or should be made aware of history, how it occurred, and even if that is not how they've been taught it, it should be written as how that occurred. And I also think that it's important to start. It's equally as important to start at the bottom. Hopefully, the impacts can be made in a positive way there, as opposed to having to try to address all these issues when kids get into high school. So once again, there's a big bill. Need to go over it a little bit deeper, but I think overall it's a very positive piece of legislation.
Thank you. Mr. Jarovsky, I'm going to get it right one of these times. Your turn.
You're doing a great job, and trust me, I have heard every derivation you could possibly have of my last name. This bill actually has 4 separate parts. 3 of them are applicable to D300. The 4th is applicable to higher education. The first one is early childhood. It does spend a lot of time dealing with early intervention, which isn't necessarily applicable to D300, but the preschool piece and the kindergarten preparation piece, it does. One of the things that it does very well is institutes statewide testing for kindergarten. I know D300 has done at different schools readiness for kindergarten, but it has not been statewide and standardized. And so this bill does provide that, which is great. It establishes equitable early childhood education, which provides lower income and underserved communities availability for early childhood education, which provides that preparation piece to make children successful in school. And so that is a wonderful part of this bill. A second part of the bill, which is the K to 12, which is something D300 is definitely going to work on, is promoting computer science, which is exciting, and academic acceleration. So it automatically puts or has the district place students that have met or exceeded entry-level requirements for accelerated classes into those accelerated classes. So we need to communicate with our parents and families that will occur, and they can opt out of that accelerated class if they feel uncomfortable with it. It does provide for access for college work as well, which is good. And then the third piece is providing for the teacher shortage, which we do have in Illinois. And by establishing a minority teacher scholarship fund, it helps to improve access to education for minority teachers. And it does, to some extent, change the requirements for becoming a teacher to allow people who would not otherwise have access to going into education being able to become a teacher, which is wonderful. I also, from a higher education perspective, love that it requires articulation between 2-year schools and 4-year schools, which does definitely help with bringing teachers into Illinois. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Scorpino, your turn.
I took a different tact of this question. This was just signed into law 1 week ago today by the governor. The original bill was 500 pages long. It's now 218 pages long. What's going to happen if you think back to your high school civics classes? What's going to happen is the legislature now, they are going to start to develop what's called trailer bills, because no one knows the impact of what they want to do. The most important thing that I took out of this is that they're going to be having a P20 council to research and make recommendations for the short-term and long-term learning recovery for the students. And so that to me is the most important thing. The ideas, everyone that has read this, If you read the 218 pages, we'll see that they're great ideas. I don't know how they're going to fund some of them. That's why some of them are called unfunded mandates. But I think what's going to happen is both the school district administration, the school board's administration are going to be on these additional committees, and hopefully they are going to have input into these trailer bills that then will be coming to the superintendents, so the superintendents understand what's going on. So right now it's really too early to tell, but I do agree with what is compacted in the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Withicombe, your turn.
So I'll just start out by saying I did not read all 218 pages of this bill. And gosh, if it started out as 500 pages, no.
Yeah.
But and to be completely honest, if I was a member of the board, I would defer to the other members to help really understand what pieces of this bill are going to truly be either effective or put in place within our district. What we could honestly see is being able to help our students in our community. I do believe that in what I have read of the bill, that there are, positive attributes for our students, whether it's from kindergarten all the way up through high school. I believe that parts of this bill are going to require us as a board to be able to have more, or actually the schools, to have more communication with the parents to understand what's going on, especially with the accelerated class programs, and knowing that you need to opt out of those if you do not want to be included. But I think that overall it is positive. And I think that it's opening up a greater partnership. But yeah, one of the questions I did have too was just basic funding for this. So, well, one of the basic questions. I have a lot of questions about the bill, but that's probably the big one. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how this plays out and how we can really make sure that it's positive for our community.
Thank you. And Ms. Burkett, if you would provide your answer, please.
Sure. A lot of people, I agree with, a lot of the highlights that people pulled out of the bill. Overall, I like the bill. I did reach out to administration, phoned a friend on this one because I wanted to find out, from administration perspective, what does this mean for us? And I was happy to learn that some of the items in here we're already doing, we're starting or we're working towards. So I think, we may even have a head start on some of these things. And I think they're all good, valuable programs to put into place. So I would support the administration as, they develop plans for how to actually implement some of this. And, we always would have to look at it in a fiscally responsive manner too, like that we have to be responsible and can afford some of these programs. I'm trying to see if I had think of anything that someone didn't highlight that I liked. I agree that the P20 Council is going to be really a good thing to have because they're going to look at data-driven solutions for some of the gaps that we might have. I like the computer science and literacy. I think that's a crucial thing, especially for students that are going to be entering the workforce or leaving, or going to college. Accelerated placement, I think, is a really good policy. It'll stop some students who are chronically not enrolling in those kind of courses and make it a decision to go to take that route if they decide they're not comfortable with it. I think those are all great things. And I do like that it addresses a lot of foundational things because I do agree with others who have said, the earlier we can address issues that students are having, the better off their ultimate long-term outcome is going to be. And so I'm happy like everyone else with what's in there and just I'd be curious to see how we're going to make it all happen. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending. And just as a side note, Ms. Paul, when she messaged me that she had the sudden conflict, said that she would submit answers. So we will include her answers to the questions as well. And I just thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great evening and good luck in the race.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Thank you.